In the year 1927, a young German lawyer sneaks into a courtroom where a murder trial is happening, and he does something very illegal. He snaps this photo from the killer on trial, without anyone noticing. How did he pull it off? He had poked a hole in his hat and put his trusty compact camera inside of it. And this was the starting point of the career of a charming, sneaky photographer who went on to change the world of photojournalism forever. The photographer who made it possible for everyone to see that politicians are also just a bunch of confused men in a time when another world war was about to begin. Welcome to my channel. I'm Marien, and this is the story of Erich Salomon, his tiny camera, and why he is an unforgettable name in photography right until his tragic death. Erich Salomon was born in Berlin in a rich Jewish family and had the chance to study zoology, engineering, and law. He graduated as a lawyer in 1913, but he was immediately drafted to go to the front line for Germany in the First World War. During the war, he spent months in a war prison in France where he became fluent in French, which helped him a lot later. After the war, with his family's fortune lost, he did a few different jobs. Among them was working in an ad agency. That's when he found photography, and he bought this camera, the Ermanox. The camera that was a bridge from the bulky camera systems of the 19th century and the new technology of 35mm cameras that defined the beginning of the age of documentary photography, war photography, and photojournalism in general. Let me explain the progression here. You see, in the beginning of the 20th century, the technology of film production and lens designs improved a lot. New, faster lenses let the camera body be smaller. What does it mean for a lens to be fast? It means that it lets more light onto the film, so it allows faster shutter speeds. Because of these developments, camera systems could both be smaller, which makes them much more portable. You don't need to keep it in a photo studio. And they were fast enough so they could snap photos and freeze the action without using a flash. The ads for the Ermanox, the camera that Salomon bought, emphasize exactly that. Gone are the days of waiting minutes to expose one photo. Gone are the days of bulky, heavy camera systems that worked with a flash. Welcome to the age of moments frozen in time. Photos that are not posed. Photos taken without the subject knowing that someone's pointing a camera at them. All beginning with Erich Salomon. In 1928, he put his new Ermanox in his bowler hat and went into the courtroom where a murder trial was happening and snapped a photo of the defendant, which was not allowed. He then published the photo in a German magazine, and from that moment, his career began. He worked a lot with the same magazine through the years as he was making a name for himself. With his charming personality and his fluent French, he made a habit of sneaking into different political conferences and meetings, each time hiding his camera somehow, in a flower pot, in a suitcase. Once he pretended his arm is broken and hid the camera in the cast. He's one of the only people who's been able to take a photograph from a US Supreme Court meeting. From convention to convention, he changed how people viewed the men in power. Photos of the most powerful politicians of the world, this time without a pose or a studio lighting. In Salomon's photos, we can see them joking around a table, yawning, smoking cigars, and looking utterly tired and confused. Confused in one of the most confusing times of Europe. These conventions are all happening after World War I, as the politicians are trying to prevent another war like that to ever happen again. We know how that went. He secretly snapped photos of the signing of the Kellogg-Briand Pact, the pact where the European powers promised not to settle their problems with war ever again. A stupid pact without any way to enforce it, but still, it was the basis for trials of many of the war criminals after the end of World War II. And we have photos of the signing of the pact because Salomon sneaked into the meeting and sat in the empty chair of the polished delegates and snapped a few photos. After a few years of taking photos of politicians, they started to expect him in all the important meetings. Instead of being mad and boycotting him, they openly expected to see him in conventions. That shows his charming character and how he was able to convince the politicians that it's good for them to be seen in these real moments. It's good for the people to see them as normal human beings. One of my favorite photos is this one. The Chancellor of Germany, the one before the other guy, and the Italian tyrant-to-be Benito Mussolini, and some other ministers casually sitting together talking, no clue about the war that is going to start in a few years. In 1931, in the height of his fame, Salomon published a book of his photographs, Famous Contemporaries in Unguarded Moments, a very stereotypical German name. His charisma and social appeal shines when you see the reaction of the politicians that he photographed. Otto Braun, the Prime Minister of Prussia, allegedly said, "These days you can have a conference without ministers, but not without Dr. Salomon." Or the France Foreign Minister allegedly said once, "Where's Dr. Salomon? If we can't start without him, people won't think this conference is important at all." With his photos, Salomon gave a totally new face to photojournalism, to capture people in a natural moment, without a pose or any other sort of middling from the photographer, and most importantly, without the subject knowing. That's what we now call candid photography, a term that an editor of the London Graphic first used in 1929 to describe Salomon's ability to capture these unguarded moments. He himself referred to himself as a historian with a camera. And you see, the thing that is also interesting for me is how normal and honestly boring his photos look. But the thing is that they're boring for us. Showing a normal, boring moment wasn't the usual thing until the 1920s. Compare it to now that we see very normal, uneventful moments of people's lives just scrolling on Instagram. That's why Salomon isn't famous for his photographs. They're mostly nothing special, but he's famous for his innovation in approaching photography. He's famous for his pivotal role in changing photojournalism forever. With the rise of fascism in Germany, Salomon and his family ran away to the Netherlands. There, he continued his work and also photographed musicians and performers there. He had the chance to escape from Europe and go to the US like so many other artists. He had an invitation to work for a Life magazine in the US. But they stayed in Netherlands and were forced to go into hiding once Germany occupied the country. They were hiding in a home that was reported to be empty. And the way they got discovered is so stupid. A gas meter reader agent got suspicious because gas was being used in a house that was supposed to be empty. So Salomon, his wife, and their son were all captured, and in 1944, they all perished in the gas chambers in Auschwitz. I want to end his story with one of his quotes. To describe his way of photography, he says, "The work of a photojournalist is a constant battle, a battle for the picture. And as in hunting, he gets his game only if he has an obsession with the chase." This behavior of photography, together with the cameras getting smaller and faster, becomes the norm for not just photojournalism, but also more artistic photographers. It's from the roots of Salomon's photography that we see the wandering street photography of Versailles. And then later, one of the most famous theories in photography, Cartier-Bresson's decisive moment, freezing an action at the height of its meaning, comes from that as well. It's the same attitude that goes over the top in paparazzi photography in a few decades after. And it's the same attitude that now at the height of technology gives us concerns about privacy with people having Ray-Ban Meta glasses and tiny camera phones everywhere. Technologies that capture every mundane moment of our lives. Thank you so much for watching the video this far. This is the first video I've made talking about an important photographer that is less known. So if you enjoyed the video, first please tap the like button below the video and also tell me what you think about videos like this. Would you like to hear more about other figures like Salomon in the history of art? Tell me what you think in the comments, please. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you wouldn't miss the next videos coming out. And it would be a simple way to help the channel grow. So thank you in advance. And also, I've talked a lot about the concept of reality and truth in photojournalism in this video and the struggles with AI photos. So check that out next if you like. And I'll see you in the next video.